Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Keith. I'm your host, Kathina Montgomery, and I can't believe we're already at the third episode. I have a very, very, very special, important, inspirational guest with me today. She's interviewed everyone from former KKK member David Duke to comedian and actress Coco Brown. She was the NABJ president at Xavier University. She's an HBCU alum. She's written articles for ESPN's The Undefeated, and she even met Beyoncé. So I want to go ahead and welcome multimedia reporter Allana Barefield. So Allana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Actually, when you're listing everything out, I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that.
You did.
Like, you know, you kind of laugh about it. No, you did your research.
What have you been up to lately since during this quarantine and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, with the pandemic and everything, it's been interesting trying to stay busy and trying to find different hobbies, trying to still stay active and still, I think, by being able to feel connected with friends, a lot of FaceTimes, a lot of Zooms like this, but being able to still tell important stories, you know, even if it's just shouting out someone on a digital platform, on social media. It's just a way for you to continue the conversation and make sure the conversation is being told in the best way possible, especially when we look at the Black community.
Yes, I would say social media has been something that I've seen a lot more people interacting with and engaging with, because if you can't have that face-to-face person aspect, at least you can maybe show somebody some support on the social media side by resharing or reposting their post or anything like that. And
that was a long way.
Yes, and I'm really excited to get started with this show and ask you the questions that I have prepared. But this first segment of my show, I call it the X's and O's, because X's and O's are, of course, plays that you might see in a playbook if you're doing football, basketball, anything like that. And so I like to use them as well, because in this case, it's kind of like the drawing of my guests, where I'm going to ask you specific questions that are catered to the profession that you are in. So looking at your resume, Allana, it's very impressive. Everything that I listed isn't even all of everything that's on your resume. But you went to Xavier University and you graduated in 2019. So could you tell me a little bit about your experience down at Xavier?
Xavier University of Louisiana is a special place to me. It will always be. I think HBCUs just literally create greatness. You know, they always have and they always will, no matter what. And I think the beauty of HBCUs is to really drive Black excellence and to be able to be surrounded with so many people that look like me, not just the student body, but professors. I think that just cultivates what an HBCU is all about, right? It's a support system. It's people that you can relate to and rely on. And Xavier, I mean, yes, it's literally located in New Orleans. So a lot of great parties, a lot of fun.
Yes, it's a city that is on the top of my bucket list to visit for sure. When you were going to Xavier, did you already have a previous interest in journalism, or was it something that sparked when you were at Xavier?
So I got my start with the National Association of Black Journalists when I was a junior in high school. I knew I always wanted to write, but I didn't know until it kind of came all together until I went to a workshop with NABJ. And that's when it clicked in, right? So I saw all these people, once again, that looked like me. I saw people that were in front of the camera, behind the camera, understanding that there is jobs out there that are just on the digital component, which I thought was amazing, that there's just so many ways that you can literally be part of journalism, but you don't have to be in front of the camera always, and you can still make an impact. So that workshop in high school kind of just sparked my interest. And when I got to Xavier, I hit the ground running, knowing that I wanted to be in this business and knowing that every internship was going to pave the way for me to pick up new tools, new skills, for me to continue to be the best woman I can be, but also be the best journalist I can be.
Right. And you said that every internship paved the way. When you were looking at your resume, you've done ESPN, The Undefeated, you've written for them, you've worked at a political outlet before. Given all your jobs and internship that you've done over the year, what would you say is your most influential one to you and why?
It's a good question because I mean, I can't say one or the other because I feel like, once again, every internship kind of made me think differently about journalism. Like I've been on the sports beat, the Metro beat, more on the entertainment side. So just getting a land of everything, kind of like a big melting pot, honestly. But I do think when I did intern for Parkwood Entertainment, and that's Beyoncé's company, I was able to honestly think about a different layer of media, right? So you have journalism, but you just have media as a whole. And how do you really cultivate that? And how do you basically using my journalism skills to help them out when it comes to social media, when it comes to branding, when it comes to campaigns and social awareness and her philanthropy projects. So that was honestly, I thought that was beneficial also, but I can't name one significant place that I've been to.
That's understandable. I mean, I could see how one definitely stands out above the rest, just like you mentioned with the Parkland one. When I was doing my research on you, of course, I saw all the different articles that you've written and all of the different people, as you just said, whether it's entertainment or sports or politics. I saw the different people that you interviewed, and a very interesting one was the former KKK president, David Duke. How did that interview come about?
So we heard that David Duke was coming to Dillard University, another HBCU in New Orleans, and he was going to speak at the university, and just seeing on social media a lot of controversy over him coming to speak because he is a former KKK person. I mean, and you're going to an HBCU. It's just like, how does that come all together? So I decided to go to Dillard University just to check it out, see what, people are saying. Of course, there was a protest with a lot of the students, people getting pepper sprayed in the middle of it all. And I was in the middle of everything. And there was reporters who were from the main outlets there, from WDSU to Channel 4. And they were all in the front. And at this moment, I see an SUV come pull up in the back. And I was the first person to start asking him questions right when he got out the car. And then finally, the other major outlets, national outlets, was also there too, come running. So it was kind of like, I've always said that you have to sometimes get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, because if I'm not going to ask the question, someone next to me is going to ask the question. And you always want to be the first. You always want to be the person to be there. And honestly, as a journalist, when people look at your social media and when they look at you, they want to know that you're credible. They want to know that you will bring the news when it's needed. So I thought, sometimes you just have to get out of your own head. And just because I am a Black woman, and yes, he is a former KKK person, this all means that I have to be the person to ask these questions, right? I have to be the person to go deep and not be scared.
I like how you said that, where you would have to be that person to ask those questions, because I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he was a former KKK leader, and everything. You have that perfect kind of tie in with that, where you can ask him those uncomfortable questions, and they should honestly be coming from a person of color, because I feel like they would have a more of an impact or an effect on getting that one line or that one answer from him.
Exactly.
So, when you were tackling that, how did you go about keeping your emotions and feelings aside when you were tackling that story?
Kind of have my phone in my hand, and I could feel like my anxiety is going up, kind of, moving my phone and just my phone shaking in my hand or whatever. But just knowing that, once again, if I don't ask that question, my editors will be mad. They will be like, why didn't you go ask it? So, I mean, in any way, wherever you are, if you're covering a protest, a Black Lives Matter protest, if you're covering a festival, if you're covering, no matter what space you're in, you always have to put a shield up, or a mask, I would say, of just like, you have to take yourself out of the equation, because if your emotions go into it, that means that you're going to be biased in some type of way, and that's going to show up in your work, and people are going to see that. And that's when it comes to different of like, if you're going to be a columnist, if you're going to be an actual reporter, like what kind of work are you producing?
I agree with everything that you just said. And all these questions are coming straight from me genuinely, because I'm learning from you during this interview myself. And I keep going back to your days at Xavier, just because there's so much footage that you were able to do in college being there. And you asked some female MCs at the time about being a female in such a male-dominated field. And so I want to pose that same question to you, as being a female in a field that was once dominated by men only. And we're finally kind of seeing it change, where there's a lot more women of color getting time on the big screen. How does it feel for you to be in this field?
That's a really good question. I like how you did the little intro to it. How do I feel being in this industry and being a woman on top of that? Being a Black woman when it is a male-dominated industry. It's challenging. There are obstacles that come in your way. And honestly, when I do look around, yes, I do see that there are more women coming up, and it is becoming more visible. But at the same time, I think there's more work to be done. Like, this is not just because we have so many other people that are in front of the camera, like Taylor Rooks and Joy Taylor and MJ Acosta, a woman of color. This is so great to see all of them, but the work is not done. Like, we have to pull like you up. We have to pull up other people who are coming through the ropes, who are in college right now, so they can make a way in the industry. And, you know, because I am a woman of color, it means that I can do the job. I might have to work twice as harder for people to realize that, but I am capable to do the job. Just because it is a male-dominated industry, you have to walk into that locker room when there is all these pro athletes with your head held high, and just because he's in a towel, yeah, I'm going up to you because I need that question, and I need to, you know, put in the story before my deadline. Like, it shouldn't matter. It sucks that we're still having these conversations, because it is literally 2021. And when is it going to change? When are we going to evolve? When is it going to stop saying, oh my God, she is a woman of color? No, I am a sports journalist. At the end of the day, I am a reporter, and I can do the work just as much as you can.
Yes, and that's the thing about it, is because we often say that so often, is that she's a reporter, but she's also a female of color reporter. Like, I liked how you said that. Like, why can't we just be a sports reporter, a journalist, anything like that? And it's like the conversations are happening, like companies, people are talking about it, things like that. But I don't know at what point, like you just said, when will it just be, I am just a journalist, I am just this. And I think with everything that's happened and the events that's transpired over the past years and years before, I think that we're definitely seeing a move in the right direction. I don't know at what moment everything will be completely okay, but we can only stride and hope for the best to come in the future. And I also wanted to ask you, when you have done all these interviews with different people, community leaders, NFL coaches, athletes, entertainment, what is your game plan when you're tackling an interview?
Stay off script. Like, you could go in an interview, and yes, of course, like, I have my questions, I've done my research, but the most beautiful conversations I've ever gotten out of anything is staying off script, like just listening to the person. And that's the thing I feel like a lot of reporters don't do, is that they're ready to just jump to the next question. But your source literally just said something that you didn't find online. He never tweeted it at all. And he's literally just gave you the golden plate, and you decided to go take a whole left. Like, so staying off script and listening and showing that you care, showing empathy sometimes also helps.
Right. And I think with a lot of the people that I've talked to in the industry and even just my professors, they would agree with you and say that listening is the number one, because oftentimes, like you said, you can go from one question to the next question, but then you miss up on that follow-up question that you could have asked. That might just be something that ends up being the best question that you asked them throughout the whole entire interview. So I would definitely agree with you on that. And then out of all the 24 articles that you've written, if you had to pick one that stood out the most to you, that resonates, that you remember, maybe it was because the deadline was so close and you had to submit it super quick or something like that. Out of all of your articles, what would you say is the most memorable one to you?
I would say my freshman year. It was an article about an athlete his name was Devon Walker, and it was for the publication Louisiana Weekly, the oldest African-American paper in New Orleans. And it was an article that made me really realize that this is the industry for me. And to see my byline on the front page of that newspaper just really stuck home. But for Devon Walker, he was a two-lane athlete, and he got paralyzed from the neck down from one hit on the field. And that conversation was talking about, what do you do after your days of playing? It's all he's known is over. And he explains that every athlete has an expiration date. And what do you do for your plan B? And how do you prepare for it? And he talks about, giving to the community and being able to be a role model. And even though he's, in a wheelchair, that doesn't define him. And to know that, for instance, like the Saints signed him a one-day contract, and he said he felt like a kid on Christmas. That quote right there, that right there, when you know that's the quote and you see him smile, it makes me smile, and it knows that I'm doing good. So that article has always stuck with me, and one of the main reasons why I'm in this industry today.
I would say that that's one of the things that can transcend through time. And that's always been my goal, is to have some type of interview, some type of thing that I've done that can be meaningful to people years from now, because his story is shared by a lot of people in the world. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who could be able to resonate with him and then just empathize with him because they've been through the same thing themselves. So I think that right there, that's like the perfect idea of journalism, when we talk about journalism and sharing people's stories and trying to really inspire the next generation. And so we talked about all the things that you've done in the past and that you continue to do now, but Allana, what can I expect? What can we, the viewers, me, everyone, what can we expect from you in the future?
From me in the future. That's like one of those questions, what can we expect in 5 years from now, or so on. I think that question for me always changes the answer, because we're always supposed to be evolving. We're always supposed to be improving. And I think at the end of the day, for journalism, as a journalist, I just want to make an impact on every community I'm in. I just want to make an impact with my words. I want to make an impact with me being on camera. And I want to keep telling groundbreaking stories that are not always being told, especially, once again, when we look at communities of color. Those don't get the limelight always. Those don't get spotlighted. Sometimes reporters only go into those communities when someone is gunned down, or there's a fight, or a break-in happens. And when reporters do see, when communities do see reporters go into them and they light up and the kid says, "Oh my God, there's a reporter here." I mean, that right there just continues to give me goosebumps. And so there's no, and that's another thing, like, I can say I want to do all of this, but there is no blueprint, especially when we look at journalism. Like, you can do everything that the other person did, but you won't end up at the same goal. Like, you won't whatsoever. I think you have to make your own lane. You have to be authentic. You have to do you at the end of the day, and it will all turn out okay.
Yes, and you said authentic, and that is one word, authenticity, that I try to make sure I implement on everything that I do, whether it's social media, tweeting, anything like that, because what I've learned just from the years in college and high school is that people like authenticity. They like you to be you and real and true to yourself, and they can completely tell when you're not. And so if you say something that you're very passionate about, and then records show that you actually didn't even give any money to it, or you didn't care, you never posted anything like that, then it's like your credibility, everything, your trust, everything just goes downhill. Where if you would have just kept it authentic, then, you know, people would have been like, hey, I want to see what she's doing next, like something like that. So
I agree.
This next part of my show, I actually call it the Get Your Mind Right part of the show, because this is where we get into a little bit of the feelings and we talk about what's actually really near and dear to our heart. Your website, you described yourself as a microphone to the voiceless. Now, when I was reading that, I was thinking in my head about all the different ways that I could define that, but I want you to go ahead and define that for me. What do you mean by a microphone to the voiceless?
For me to be the microphone to the voiceless, it's once again giving a voice to someone that is not always being heard, is not always being spotlighted, is not always up front and center. And sometimes when we look at the news, and especially mainstream media, sometimes it's whitewash, right? And sometimes it is just, it's not where it needs to be, right? It's doing better. And that's why we have reporters that look like us in those rooms, being an active, like a microphone to the voiceless. But it's honestly just amplifying their voice and finding voices, like literally going out your way and making sure you're asking those questions, going up to people that you know that are usually not in the media, who are usually not ever being spotlighted. That's what it's all about.
So would you say that that is your why? Because I feel like when anyone does anything in life, they have to have a why. Like, why are you playing basketball? Why do you play football? So for you, would you say that that's your why, or would it be something else?
I would say that's my why. I would. I think that has been a saying that I've been going by for years. And it is something that really does hit home and hit to my heart, because I connect with it. Because once again, I've been in those spaces where my voice is not being heard, where I'm not having a seat at the table sometimes because the way I look. And so when you can do that for others, it speaks volumes.
Right. And I can definitely agree with you. We've had the same experiences, in the sense of not getting something because of the way we look, or even being the only one in the room most of the time. And I can't wait until the day that changes. Like I said, we're going in the right direction with that. But I just wanted to ask you, with some of the events and everything that's happened in 2020, over 500,000 deaths, COVID hitting the world, numerous of instances of police brutality, pretty much everything coming to surface in a way when it comes to racial issues and things like that. Within the year 2020, what would you say kept you grounded?
Hope. Keeping the hope alive. No, I mean, I guess hope, and knowing that we will make it through this pandemic. There will be one day. I don't know when that date is, but if we don't have hope, then what do we have? Now, when we look at police brutality and what's been happening, I don't know if that day is ever going to come where we are looked at as equal, because racism it's in America. It's here, it's present. And it blows that we have to continue to see another name, another hashtag, another person gone. Right. And honestly, all of these names, it feels like, I don't know, it's like, you know them, right? It feels like it's your brother, it's your sister. It could be literally your brother or sister, right? So we see all these people are passing away in their age, 25 and 26. And it's scary because I look to my left and I look to my right, and that could have been one of my family members. And to know that now we look at, it's a 1-year anniversary, and I'm like, where has the time gone? Where did it go? And we look at Breonna Taylor, right? And to know that the bullet that went into the drywall got more more attention than her actual life, it makes me sick to my stomach.
It is very, very sickening. That is the perfect word to describe it. That's what I say anytime I'm talking about anything in regards to that, because for the mindset of it to be more so worried about that than a person's life, the only word that I can use to describe that type of mental state is sick, because there's nothing else to be said about it. And then it's like we said, when are we gonna see the moment of change? And so when you said hope, that resonated with me, and it really blew, I had a moment of, because that's what I say all the time when it comes to sports and interviewing athletes and making sure that their story is told. I always say that I love the hope that sports gives, because with the stories that you're able to tell, that's what you're giving people. You're giving people hope that something might change, hope that they can have a better narrative to their life, anything like that. So when you said that was like, oh my God, wow, we are kind of the same. Like it was a really good realization for me. And then when it comes to being a woman of color in this industry, and we've talked about some of the challenges that you faced, what would you say was the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome?
That's a good question. Once again, I don't think I can name one obstacle. And I think Elaine Weltworth, in her book More Than Enough, she says your race will walk into the room before you do. And that's just the way it is. And no matter what, you literally, I'm trying, you try your best. And I mean, once again, you go into these locker rooms and you can connect with these athletes to talk about, for instance, if there's like a social media post or something that you can relate to when it goes to Black Twitter, sometimes you can connect with the person. And other times it's just hard when a team loses and you're trying to go up to them and they might give, time to a man reporter compared to you. I think it's just about proving myself. I think that's all together. I think the biggest obstacle I would say is proving myself over and over and over again. And no matter what space you're in, no matter what media outlet you're at, you have to prove yourself, because there's going to be one person that's just going to try to call you out. You will have Twitter trolls. You will have someone that is just trying to drag you down. But you have to rise above. Like Michelle Obama says, like when they go low, you go high, and you have to literally go higher, because you can't let these people drag you down. You can't let anybody stop you, because you are born to be great.
With that same token of being, you said maybe a man getting an interview over you, I'd like to pose a question of, would you say that by being a Black woman, do you feel that when you go up to an athlete and they are Black, that you go up to them and you're going to interview them, do you feel also in the same token that that's kind of an advantage in a way? Maybe it might not be the fact that you are a woman, but the fact that you guys that you share the same skin tone. Because I've noticed that when I'm going to go get interviews with athletes and they are people of color, they tend to be more receptive to me asking maybe hard-hitting questions, or even just those very personable questions about race and things like that. And I've noticed that I am able to get those real answers as opposed to something that might be fabricated.
I think it totally depends on the athlete. I think, yes, race, you can connect on that level, but at the end of the day, you still have to build a rapport with each athlete. They have to think of you as a friend in some ways, and a person that when you walk into the locker room and they know somebody got sick, or they want to talk about something, that they will call you over. But that takes time, right? That's just by them seeing your face. That's by you maybe asking them a question that no one else is going to ask them, right? So maybe it's if he did really bad in a game, right? And everybody wants to ask him what happened, what didn't translate from practice to the game. But maybe you ask a question that's something about social media, or you ask a question about his family life that continues to help him inspire to translate to the next game. Something like more upbeat than just looking at his downfall, right? He'll look at you and he'll remember that. And that's how you continue to build these connections. So I do think race is one layer, but it's not the all end all be all when you're in these locker rooms. It's about building that rapport with everybody in that locker room. And it's trying to build a genuine connection, because when the athletes want to you, if they feel like they can trust you, if they feel like they're going to twist their words. So how do you get to that level?
Yes, and I think that was a really good point that you said when you were talking about either asking them a question about their downfall or asking them something completely different. And I think that right there, when it comes to reporting, that's that human aspect that a lot of people tend to forget, is that, yes, we might want this one verb it would be great to put it in a package. It's a great story. But at the end of the day, you are talking to another human. They have feelings. They have everything that you feel, they feel. So I think that aspect that a lot of people do sometimes tend to forget sometimes is that human interest aspect right there, because you are talking to another human.
Yes, and some people have a hard time figuring that out, because we continue time and time again, continue to go by, just shut up and dribble. But no, they are a human. They are, yes, they're an athlete, and yes, they get paid to play on a professional level. But I think it's groundbreaking of, like, when we look at the bubble and there was so many social justice happening there, and we look at LeBron James and he only wanted to take questions about police brutality at one of the press conferences. Like, those are ways that you continue the conversation, by wearing the shirts, by wearing the hats. And I think the bubble was a moment, once again, it goes back into the hope, right? It was a moment where we could see that these athletes are doing more than just playing a game.
Right. And it's great that they gave them that platform to do so, where previously we've sometimes seen athletes. I literally just did a video, because I'm doing these 10 days of Black history in sports, and I actually just did a video about the Black Power protest that happened at the Olympics. And when I was looking at that and seeing how after they did that protest, it completely ruined their career. It was just like Colin Kaepernick when he kneeled. Like, he's still not on a team to this day. So to be able to see that back then, it made such a detrimental thing. Like, it basically ruined their career. And then today, to have it be backed by an organization, be backed by a TV network, and actually showing and letting them have that moment to speak, it was just incredible to see, like, kind of where we've come from and where we are now. I mean, it sucks that we're still having these conversations, but I mean, it's great that now they're more so accepted, as opposed to before, where it's your whole career if you say one thing about Black Lives Matter or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
It's a lot to unpack.
It really is a lot to unpack. To just keep us kind of back on the track of you, and just keeping this whole trend of the get your mind right part. When you knew at that moment that you wanted to be a journalist, you said at the NABJ convention that you went to. If you could look back at yourself at that moment, is there any advice or what would you tell yourself back then?
I guess I would say to be more bold and be right, because I think starting out, you're kind of still trying to find your way, and you're trying to find your voice, and you're trying to find who you are, but also figuring out this whole business. And I mean, I was always a person to like go up to people and shake their hands and get their business cards, but I mean, at times you get anxiety, you get nervous, and that's normal. So I guess my advice to my younger self would be, and I learned this later on, is that what's the worst that someone can say? No, you didn't have them before, you don't have them now. So if you go out and ask them for an interview and they say no, oh well, we move on to the next. You go ask someone for professional advice, they say, I don't have time right now. Okay, thank you. And you move on. So I think not being scared of the word no.
Yes, I would say that that's something that I had to learn too throughout, because everything that you just said is basically what I'm going through right now myself, just in the sense of making sure I know everything about the business, learning about it, trying to really, that's why this whole show it's been great for me to kind of see what I like about interviewing, what parts do I not like, what do I need to pick up on, things like that. And so I think that that's very true about trying to learn the industry itself. And I think that I don't know what moment for me when it happened, but I realized at a point where I didn't want my voice to necessarily be silenced. Like, I wanted to be able to be unapologetically be myself. And I think that moment, no, it definitely probably happened my senior year, because I'm looking and I'm applying to jobs and I'm looking at different companies and I'm seeing what they're all about. And you can quickly see if you would be a good fit at one company versus if you would be another fit at another company. And it's very easy to tell if they're going to let you say what you want in the sense of talking about issues that matter and giving them the time of day, or if that company has never done that in the past. So I think that it is all a learning process. And with this business specifically, we get better as we keep going. Like, it's not something that you're not the best at it when you were 16 and then you turn 37 and you're terrible. It's actually the complete opposite for this industry. So that's the good thing that I keep telling myself, is like, I'm going to look back at these when I'm like 37 and be like, girl, you was really doing it back then.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, when you always look back and you're so hard on yourself, but then you look back and you say to yourself, why was I tripping? Like, yes. You were doing all the right things. And sometimes you just have to be calm, be still, and let good things come in your space, and don't worry so much.
Yes, that's what everyone, like I said, everyone who is in the business and who is doing exactly what I want to do now, that is what they always tell me. And like I said, I'm trying to find my voice, and I love entertainment. I love sports. So this second half of my show is actually dedicated more so to the entertainment side of the reporting, more fun, interactive things. So this next part of my show, I call it 12 questions, because it's just like 21 questions, where it's the idea of rapid fire questions. So I'm going to ask you 12 questions, okay? And they're going to be rapid fire. You'll do fine. They're like rapid fire questions. So I just ask them, and then you tell me the first thing that comes to your head when I ask you that question. Are you ready?
I guess so. Let's do it.
All right, number one, celebrity crush.
Michael B. Jordan.
Morning person or a night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite food to get in Massachusetts?
Chinese.
What's your Starbucks order?
Iced chai tea.
Something you can't live without.
My phone.
What's your favorite streaming app? So to watch TV shows or movies?
Oh, Netflix.
If you were a kind of animal, what would you be?
A cheetah.
Why a cheetah?
Well, because when I was breaking into the industry of journalism, I had a mentor and we were knocking on people's doors and chasing people down on the street, basically. And, doing man on the street. And he's like, you got to be like a cheetah. So that's, which, you have to pounce on people sometimes. Give them space, but yeah, so cheetah.
I just knew that one had a story. That's why I had to ask. If you could meet a celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be?
I'm going to go with Mindy Kaling.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Read people's minds.
That's a good one. But that might get, depending on whose mind you're reading.
Yeah, it's a little dicey.
You got to see on that one. Okay, we're at 10. What online boutique are you most likely to have a $500 cart in right now?
I love me some Macy's.
Okay.
So,
are you a simp or a pimp?
We're gonna go with simp. I'm a simple person. Go ahead.
And then the last one, what is your go-to Beyonce song?
Oh, Love on Top.
Okay, see, you knew that one right away. Now, I was going to ask you a Beyonce question because this next part of the show is a segment specifically for you because back in 2018, you won $25,000 from Beyonce, from her scholarship fund, from her Be Good campaign. So one, congratulations, but two, how were you feeling in that moment when you read that? Like, I just won. How did you feel? What was going on?
Oh, at the time I was at the Tampa Bay Times and I was sitting at my desk going through social media in the morning just to see like what was trending for topics and what were the news. And somebody from school, random person, tagged me in a post saying, "Congratulations, Allana." I'm like, what is this? I'm looking at the screenshot. This doesn't look legit. I'm like, okay. So I go to Beyonce.com. There's my name. And right away, I just call my mom, call my sister. Like, this is because at the point, I knew I made it to the final rounds, but I thought they would give me a heads up before anything was published and so forth. But it was truly a remarkable day.
I don't even know. I feel like my heart or something would have stopped. That's insane. That's incredible. What did you have to do to get that scholarship?
So, right. So they basically put out an application at my school and other HBCUs also. So a lot of people were applying for it, and it just said, it was kind of vague, kind of just said, put together a portfolio. So kind of, once again, being your creative self, right? Kind of vague, saying put it together a portfolio and write an essay about someone that you admire or something, right? So I wrote my essay about Jemele Hill and talking about how she's such a person who is well-spoken and a person who does not care what people think. And that's what I love about her. And I love her writing. And I love how she has went from writing to TV and how you can literally switch lanes. Once again, you do not have to be pigeonholed in this industry whatsoever. And I also talked and I intertwined it with Beyonce and, Kaepernick, how about the award. And it just kind of, it flowed all together. But I put together a portfolio and I wrote that essay. And yeah, kind of just came together.
Now, from the articles I've read, I know that you stan Beyonce. So I thought that we could play a little fun trivia game. Actually, you, not we, I'm sorry. But that you could play a nice, fun trivia game about Beyonce. So it's just Beyonce trivia, okay? It's just 10 questions. And like I said, I only got 2 wrong, but you don't have to beat me, but you could. I know you can. And The questions are going to go as follows. So you're going to have 20 seconds to answer each trivia question, but this 20 seconds will not start until after I've read the question to you and then I read you your possible answers. So we'll just do a practice one just for you to get like kind of what I mean. So it would go, what does Beyonce's name start with? Your options are as follows: D, G, Z, or B. Timer would start now.
B. But come on.
That one. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the first one is, what is Beyonce's middle name? Desiree, Giselle.
Giselle.
I didn't finish.
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, Beyonce Giselle knows.
You got it. Didn't even have to read the rest. All right. So Beyonce rose to fame in the late 1990s as the lead singer of what R&B group? The Spice Girls, TLC, In Vogue, or Destiny's Child? Timer starting now.
Destiny's Child.
Beyonce made her big screen debut in what movie? Dreamgirls, The Pink Panther, Zoolander, or Austin Powers in Goldmember?
Austin Powers.
What was the name of Beyonce's solo debut album? Is it Survivor, B-Day, I Am Sasha Fierce, or Dangerously in Love? Go ahead.
Dangerously in Love.
In what song does Beyonce sing, I swore I'd never fall again, but this don't even feel like falling? Broken Hearted Girl, Crazy in Love, Halo, or All Night?
Oh, wait. I'll go with Broken Hearted Girl.
It's
Broken
Halo.
Hearted Girl? No?
It's Halo. I got that one wrong too at first. Or who did Beyonce marry in 2008? Giving you an easy one. Sean Combs, Ice Cube, Jay-Z, or Kanye West? Go ahead.
Jay-Z.
Yes, good job. Now, who did Beyonce portray in the movie Cadillac Records? Was it Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, or Etta James?
Etta James.
Now, which track earned Beyonce Song of the Year at the 2010 Grammy Awards? If I Were a Boy, Broken Hearted Girl, Diva, or Single Ladies?
Single Ladies.
Yes! Good job. You said that one with a question at the end.
I was like, well, I think, because I'm like, those are all hits, right? So, but I'm thinking 2010. I'm like, okay.
Now, what was the name of Beyonce's clothing line? Was it Paper Crown, Beehive, Tidal, or House of Darion?
House of Darion.
Where was Beyonce born? Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, or Houston?
713 H-Town.
Yes, good job. See, you only got one wrong. So that's a 90%. That's not bad.
Well, that's like, yeah, not bad. But I'm going to kick myself. Like, how did you not know that line? But okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Like I said, I only got two wrong. So the one that I got wrong is a little embarrassing too, but it's okay. But that actually brings me to the end of my show. I don't have anything else planned in the rundown for you. I thought we could end it on a light note, doing some fun Beyonce trivia. And I'm just so happy that you agreed to come onto the show today. And I've learned so much. We talked about things that matter, things that need to be talked about more often. We got to talk about some fun and exciting stuff. And it's just all in all been a great interview. And I really hope that you enjoyed yourself too. And like I said, thank you so much for letting me interview you and coming on my show today. It's been incredible.
Likewise, this was so much fun. I haven't smiled like this in how long? Like, you just asking those different questions, and you made me feel like going down memory lane. And honestly, I think your future is bright, and I am so happy that you started this show to, a platform to highlight women and men that are in this industry. Kudos to you, because I know how much it takes to start a show from scratch and to really not start it, but continue and to push out content weekly. So I am so proud of you, and you can call me, text me whenever you need advice and so forth.
Oh my God, I got a friend for life, y'all. I'm kidding, but no, I really do though. But like I said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and this has been episode 3 of Kicking It with Keith. Make sure you guys don't forget to follow, or don't forget to follow Allana on all of her social medias. I will have her tag down below. It's the same on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. So you got to be a subscriber and a follower, and you need to engage with the content, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on my next episode.